Today we are starting a brand new unit in math. We are going to learn about shapes or geometry, the study of shapes during this chapter, during chapter 12. We're starting with two-dimensional shapes. Two-dimensional shapes are the ones that are flat. These are the ones that you've learned in previous grades, like square and circle, those flat shapes. We'll also move on to learn about 3D shapes, more like a cone and a sphere and a cube, those kinds of things. So today, though, we are looking at our essential question, which is how do I use shapes and equal parts? And we're starting by thinking about what it means if a shape is flat. So if a shape is flat, it only has length and height. That means it's two-dimensional because it just has those two dimensions, length and height. And there are a lot of these that you've probably learned about before: circle, triangle, square, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon. None of them have depth. They only have height and width. So we're going to look at a few of those today. We're going to look at the real world objects that are triangles. Now we know that triangles have three sides, right? Because tri means three, like tricycle has three wheels. So a triangle has three sides. So let's look here. Which ones are triangles? We've got a yield sign. That has 1, 2, 3 sides. We've got this cracker or pita chip, 1, 2, 3 sides. And this musical instrument here, 1, 2, 3 sides, even though they aren't connected. Really, to be a real triangle, it would need to be connected. How many rectangles do you see here? You should see one rectangle, the door. And how many circles do you see? We've got one full circle, the pizza, and then we have a semicircle or a semicircle, and that's half of a circle right here. And then this is a four-sided shape. We often call those, the big name for those is quadrilateral. And this one has all four sides as even. When it's angled this way, we usually call it a rhombus or diamond, but we also could say it's a square since all of the sides are the same. Okay, so it says draw real-world examples of the shapes shown to complete the table. So circle, a real-life object that is a circle. We just learned about this. Is a clock, right? A clock is typically, an analog clock is typically a circle. Now a digital clock might be a rectangle like this, right? Another rectangle might be actually the one that we just learned about as well as a dollar bill, okay? And then a triangle. I'm going to do a piece of pie is a triangle. Okay, let's watch now about two-dimensional figures.
Two-dimensional figures. These figures are all two-dimensional figures. A two-dimensional figure is a plane shape with only length and width. Let's look at the top row of two-dimensional figures and say their names together. Let's start here. Circle, triangle, square, and rectangle. Let's look at the last three figures. Parallelogram, hexagon, trapezoid.
Okay. So now you need to open up your math book to page 739, and we are going to draw some two-dimensional shapes, and then we're going to draw a line from each shape to its name. Now you do not have small attribute blocks at home, so just do your best. You might be able to find some things to trace if you wanted to. If you could find something that has a small circle, like the top of a marker or something like that, you could totally do that. But I want us to look at these shapes and make sure that we know what they are, that we have that vocabulary, so that we are able to complete our independent practice today. So the first one is a circle. It's probably the easiest one because it's round, it doesn't have any sides, it's very different from many of the other ones because of that. Then we have a hexagon. Now, hex means 6. I remember that because 6 has an X in it, just like hex. So we need a 6-sided figure. This is the easiest one for me to draw, is a line on top and a line on bottom, and then out, in. That's a 6-sided hexagon. But really any 6-sided shape is a hexagon. So if yours looks a little different, that's okay, as long as it has exactly 6 sides. Okay, then square. Square is also maybe one of the most common shapes that we see, for exactly the same size sides. That's what makes a square a square. A rectangle is also a 4-sided figure, but it has 2 sets of parallel sides. So these 2 match in length and these 2 match in length, but they don't all 4 match in length like the square. Though a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't always a square. And then we have triangle. Triangle is a 3-sided shape. So go ahead and make sure you have all 5 of these drawn on your page 739. If you need to pause and finish doing that, you may. And then I'm going on to guided practice on page 740. So a two-dimensional shape, we've been talking a lot about that, only has length and width. Here are some other shapes that we didn't talk about on the last page, which are pentagon. Pentagons, if you want to on your page, I'd like you to write 5 under pentagon, because a pentagon is a 5-sided figure. Hexagon, we did talk about, remember the X, 6, so it has 6 sides. A parallelogram has 4, it's a 4-sided figure, but the sides are slanted at an angle. And then trapezoid also has 4 sides, but it has 2 that are the same and then 2 that are different. That top one is smaller than the bottom one. So it says circle the shapes that match the name, parallelogram. So the parallelograms in this first set here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're a little bit slanted. 1, 2, 3, 4, slanted. This one's just at an angle. Triangles are shapes that have 3 sides, so we're going to circle these 2 triangles. This one is not, it has 4 sides. This one is not, it has 5 sides. Write the name of the shape, circle the shape that matches. So let's count the sides, that's how we can identify it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a hexagon. So what's the difference between a pentagon and a hexagon? So both are two-dimensional shapes, so that's how they are alike. And how they are different is that a pentagon has 5 sides and a hexagon has 6 sides. So you are going to now go in and complete your independent practice and problem solving on pages 741 and 742. Upload pictures of those to schoolwork when you finish.